with the high. I had a little I had a little kind of fog. My brain is still working to a certain extent. If I do I did $3 bill, my wife would agree with that for sure. So anyway, you hang in there. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
This is John. You check it if I did.
Back, anybody else on the Zoom?
Nope.
All right, well, we can get some stuff done. We got a small group. We can make some decisions.
You're not seeing.
We can take a little extra time if nobody else has joined in. There's some networking going on here.
No, that's good.
We've got there's 7 of us here.
Yeah.
Show down here.
Bad story. No, you got It's a big deal. You got off the capital of the government. That's the story. Yeah. Yeah, in that meeting. Right, strong, making, was making right. My time and the conceptual way to often and converted to like God and converted to like branding and so that your the mission and bargaining the way to get it. So exactly. Hey man, how you is? I speak in Campfield, particular. Who is that with?
It's
Hey, Bill.
it's my caretaker.
Hang on, Mr. Lemon.
Class of 72. Same as his cousin. I'm doing that for ball. His cousin Gus, a classmate.
Where we?
What? Yes, you do.
Don't say what you don't want.
Here's the young man. This is Leo.
Hey, Leo.
Dr. Dorsey, don't you forget. Did you remember me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is there somebody else who looks?
Yes, sir.
It's like somebody.
But the mission post office. Dorsey. Yeah, they're about they go.
Kathy, he's had a mission trip in Black Mountain, North Carolina.
For somebody who makes it sing in their. So.
Let's tell that.
I inspected a cadet here one time. He was age 10.
Good to see your smile. You know how much I love it.
It's all over. The whole world knows about it. 2 minutes and we'll start.
All right.
I didn't see this.
Miss it. I'll see everything.
Next time I'll make it.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Hey, Ryan's scared. He hears everything in all conversations. You know what that means? Like, no, Ryan hears everything all conversations. No, that's not what.
No, I'm sorry.
Leo. I can get you to sign in if you would, sir.
All right. So now we won't put that back.
But it wouldn't be. I like that. But I hear phone number is the direct.
Hey,
I can.
How does American,
Oh, yeah.
that's, it's the conqueror there.
If he remembers the recruiter for 5 years. Yeah. If he remembers. Yeah. It was Dr. Brandon. I'm kidding.
Well, then. I didn't.
Is Allie online?
no.
This is all. Sir. This is all lowercase. That understand. Here reminders to be where I'm supposed to be. And I got here on time today. I got here a few moments late last time. So, but normally I'm over almost anal, so to speak, with time management, getting where you're supposed to be. Okay. I just see.
Some of us grew up with the, if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, well, it is.
That's gone. That's not true anymore.
Yeah, that's the way, also, the youth, I was trying to, you try to be able to master 7 things in your mind at one time, and that's a stunning 3 things. That's why neither one is true. I mean, if it's functioning at sort of a normal, regular kind of speed, you accept that. And I almost went over, a few steps up yesterday, and I grabbed on something. My knees are strained a little bit and stuff. So, hey, Pam, how you doing, ma'am? And same here, dear. And so,
Let's roll.
all right, yeah, don't.
Y'all ready to start? Everybody grab a seat. I think Bill's coming back. He's going to come back from the restroom. Welcome to everybody. Robert Brandon, we've got Robert Mackey on Zoom. There might be some other people calling in, but this meeting is going to be a little bit different if you attended things in the past. This is going to be a little more conversational in general, not so a lot of science, not a lot of information, but this is a little bit of a change in what we're doing, is because this is really about networking and collective coming together for a common purpose of, as we would say, making great food from great plants that have resulted of our work of replenishing soil. So the regenerative agriculture movement is core and central to what we're doing. The products that we're using is core and central to that. So just let me just give a brief, my belief in what the regenerative agriculture. So, it starts with the word re. And so, regenerating, refurbishing, restoring, not necessarily replacing, but repurposing our soil systems that are growing our food. So there are some basic concepts around regenerative agriculture. A lot of people call it conservation agriculture, but it starts with the soil. And so some key principles are working with the soil. So context is key. We can talk about growing tomato plants in Alabama, but that may not work in Africa, where you are in Africa. So soil type is very important. So knowing your soil, your context is key. And there are things like keeping that soil covered. So bare soil wants to cover itself. And the reason that's important are things like reducing erosion, building organic matter in that soil, keeping the temperature down. And one of the key things, sometimes we often overlook in Alabama because we get 65 inches of rain a year. But if I'm in Idaho or if I'm in New Mexico, 6 inches of rain a year is a lot. So that water storage, available water to the plants is key. So that's going to happen a lot of times by keeping that soil covered. You don't lose it through evapotranspiration or erosion, wind or a rain event, losing that soil. So keeping the soil covered. And if you think about a forest, the leaves drop, it keeps that soil covered. We never have to go in and till that soil. So minimal tillage is the second principle, and that's because you're destroying the soil structure. You're destroying things like organic matter. The old thing of deep plowing, you're flipping the aerobic and the anaerobic, and so you're basically sterilizing that soil way past the planting depth of the working depth, but also you're pulverizing that soil, particularly when you run a tiller through there, and you're losing your pore space, and you're creating fine soil on the surface. So if it does rain, that's where the compaction, the crusting comes from. So minimal soil disturbance is the second key principle. The third key principle, I would say, is the minimization of synthetic inputs or the elimination of synthetic inputs. So things like petroleum-based fertilizers, toxic chemicals that are in our pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, those last. And that's been a bit of some misinformation from the industry that say this doesn't affect the soil. Well, pesticides effectively are the worst ones. They stay in the soil and they kill pretty much everything. So you lose those natural systems of microbial growth, carbon and nitrogen sequestering from the atmosphere into the soil. And basically, we know there are dead soil zones. Mississippi Delta would be one that I have experience with because I duck hunted there for 20 years, and I saw lots of vacant fields because it just wouldn't sustain life because so many chemicals had been input. But then we know those chemicals are transported downstream into places like the Gulf of Mexico. The Chesapeake Bay is a famous one. Back in the 80s, the crab industry was decimated because of non-point source pollution, chemical fertilizers in particular, were making its way to the bay. And those life systems in our waters, in our bays, and our rivers were being destroyed. And so there had to be a lot of remediation and course corrections to restore that life. So minimal soil disturbance, and then elimination of toxic chemicals, and then leaving a living root in the ground throughout the year. And that's really important. It does things like it breaks up soil compaction. I like to say it's free fertilizer because you think of the photosynthesis cycle, and it's bringing nitrogen and carbon in from the atmosphere down into the plant, into the roots, down into the soil. So living roots, cover crops, minimal tillage, and elimination of synthetic inputs. And context is really important. The sixth one that currently our farm is not able to incorporate because of our lease restrictions is the incorporation of livestock. So if you think about hundreds of years before any of us ever showed up in North America, you had the big bison herds. And in Africa's, you can think of the wildebeest herds moving through. They're consuming the grasses in the top, but their hoof action is actually breaking the soil open and crushing organisms and letting them go down into the soil. So they're actually, as those herds move through the Midwest, and that's how you got the big prairies, they sustain and promote life in that soil. So incorporation of livestock, cattle is a big movement. We showed a documentary at New Water a couple of months ago called To Which We Belong. It was about different places around the world that have incorporated livestock. The Chilean desert in Mexico is not a desert anymore because of some farming practices of incorporating cattle. A lot of places in Africa, they're seeing once we're just deserts, now they've got life that supports animal life. And actually, the one in Africa, all the wild animals move back in. It's a big industry now of safari tourism kinds of things, and they brought all that life back. So it's an increased biodiversity. So regenerative agriculture promotes the restoration of lots of things, including relationships, what we're doing now. That's why we're gathered here, is to talk about this. So we've got new friends. We're meeting together to solve common problems. All along the supply chain, people are treating each other with dignity and supporting one another, and not just what can I get out of you, but how can I help you? So we see a return in the farming industry back to the old ways of helping each other out, not just reacting to a crisis, but being responsive and at the forefront of helping people be successful and to promote good food. But also, obviously, what we see now as a return in conservation is a respect for the plants, for the biosystems, for the earth. We're treating it with respect as opposed to, I'd say raping the land and taking everything we can from it and leaving nothing behind but a mess. And so regenerative agriculture is a real thing. It's a tsunami that's just gained a lot of attraction. And us older folks, I can say that now, we think, well, that's the way my grandpappy farmed. That's the way it was. We had a system of animals and plants and trees, and it all worked together. As you guys maybe drove around this landscape, you'll see lots of old home sites. They all have one walnut tree. They have some muscadine vines. They have probably some fruit trees. You can see like an old little chicken house. And so they had a complete system, a closed system, and they didn't have to go buy a bunch of inputs. They had it all right there, and they treated their land with respect, and they were able to live with the land, not necessarily just off the land. So regenerative agriculture, that's why we're here. We're looking at putting systems and people together to help solve these problems locally. And like I said, there are all kinds of resources. We can share some with you. If you just Google regenerative agriculture, you'll get pages and pages of information, podcasts and articles. And it's all, I would say most all of it's really, really good stuff. And so for such a time as this, that's why we're here. And just thank you guys for making the time to spend part of your day with us here, and whether you traveled from far away or just down the street. We're excited to have you. So I'm Robert Brandon from New Water Farms. I've got our assistant farm manager, make the introduction now, Leo Walter. He's joined us. This is like your sixth week. Yeah. And he is drinking from a fire hydrant and loving it. And so in a couple of months, you'll hear from him on some things in the regenerative space, but he comes from a culinary background. And again, a systems thinker. How do these things work together? Why is it important to talk about our soils? And our friends here from Southern Prep, Ryan, then we're going to hear later from the assistant dean, talk about what's going on here. So we begin to build community around this idea of making better food. So we're happy to have you, and glad you're here. And I think at this point, do I turn this over to, let me show a video. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a little bit of seems like a hot mess, probably is, but we're kind of going off script from what we normally do. So I'm going to show a video that kind of helps explain some things as well. So let me pull that up. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. We got to go back to.
Good day, everyone. I'm Allie Baumeister. My family and I operate an independent humanitarian volunteer group that we call the Enduring Empathy Project. Basically, we ask, how can we help, to anyone who shows up with a concern, a question, or a challenge. While much of our time is focused in Central America, where we travel between jungle villages supporting people in with pain and injuries, we have also had hundreds of conversations with farmers around the world about everything from their health issues to difficulties with their farm. Almost every farmer I've spoken to has an overlap of the same troubles. Their expenses of both time and money are high. Their revenue comes under various and sometimes unknown threats, and the wellness of their plants needs nearly constant attention. Many farmers have heard about the health concerns directly associated with what they spray on their crops, but without a clear path forward, they will repeatedly use those products until they find a better way. They will prioritize buying these products only because it's a system that they recognize and they know how to use, even if it doesn't support the majority of their long-term goals. Because farmers have to do whatever it takes to keep their yields consistent so they can accommodate their expenses throughout the seasons, and because they usually have sunk a lot of time and money on equipment and materials, making changes to their setup feels like an overwhelming challenge to many. My job has been to help them find a better way forward with a do what you can with what you have where you are perspective, and I try to step into their shoes and recognize the lived experiences of their day-to-day life. We focus on natural and locally available materials to replenish and stabilize the soil, and form solutions based on what individual farmers have tangible access to. We create customized approaches that help develop better balance in their farming practices. When I learned about the three product system that this network is currently experimenting with, it piqued my interest, primarily because it is by farmers for farmers. It is addressing the needs of the soil and the plants and encouraging better immunity for the entire farm. And it can be fine tuned to address unique challenges instead of pursuing outright eradication, which tends to be more expensive and causes a lot more problems. And it fits into my desire to support the wellness of farmers, families, and communities by offering practical guides for farming in a more responsible and plentiful manner without disrupting their routines or needing new equipment. Your farm is a complex and alive piece of the planet. It doesn't only bear your name, it bears the results of generations of farming activity, often where only one type of crop was present at a time. This form of farming is referred to as monoculture farming. And while it has been the backbone of America's farming industry, it's causing a lot of challenges for the farmers who use it, and for the environment around them. Because this type of farming depletes nutrients from the soil, we've done crop rotations, sprayed fertilizers and nutrients, we've met swarms of pests and imbalances, and primarily all of this is because we just don't have the biological components to help keep those factors in check. Through my research, I've discovered that plants which have a regular source of nutrients have a healthier immune system. Much like humans, having their health needs met is equal to having stronger health. With good health, these plants are capable of living more harmoniously and responding to biological threats in effective ways that keep these threats in greater balance. These plants also produce higher yields and healthier, more nutritious produce. So the question for me becomes, how do we create healthier farms while still utilizing systems that farmers understand, which are convenient, accessible, and will not only ultimately save them money, but will minimize their need for endless products and expenses or unhealthy temporary solutions? I believe this network is addressing this question head on. Utilizing the current practices most farms in America are already accustomed to, the agri-harvest system harnesses the immense benefits of magnesium hydroxide in nanoplatelet form, alongside NutriPlant 643 and deer repellent. It supplies a robust 360-degree support system to your plants. This setup aims to create better balance in your plants and soil. It allows for the use of your current equipment and protocols and decreases the need for harmful additives while increasing the 360-degree health of your pots, fields, and orchards. While we won't make promises that you'll never again have troubles, we do believe that by engaging with our network and utilizing these methods, you'll see a dramatic increase in the health, wellness, and yield of your plants. And we've got scientific results alongside actual real-life field studies to support this belief. The people here at New Water Farms are just one of many locations that have been testing this system. I'd like you to hear a bit from the people who manage their crops and develop their farming practices. They'll tell you what they've done in the past, how they've been supported and challenged by their old practices, and how the agri-harvest system is changing the lives of their plants and their produce.
All right, so we're gonna typically here we do a presentation around the system and a lot of testing results, but we thought it might be better to pivot a little bit and let Southern talk about what they're doing here. And either I misspoke or while I was talking, the assistant dean is now the dean. So I think I misspoke. But I'm going to ask Ryan to come forward and introduce Dean Thompson and talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to make a little switch here to let him plug his computer in. He's going to talk about Southern and where they're headed. And then after that, Ryan's going to talk about what Allie referred to, some old practices, new practices, what he's doing here specifically with the agriculture program. And then we're going to look at you guys talking about NutriPlan. which we're excited. So, Ryan, you want to step in front
Yeah.
here?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure being here again. I asked Dean Thompson to come and share with us. We talked about community and getting back to our roots, and faith has always been a real important aspect of the school, and it's very important to Dean Thompson, and so is community, and the things he's done to kind of bring us back to our roots in a sense has been really inspiring, and I was inspired by it, so I asked him to come and share. So I hope you enjoy.
We'll take a little tech break here to swap over. I'm gonna move this together, make sure I got you. You can see yourself. You can see yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here today, and try to keep it brief. So yeah, I'm Blaine Thompson. This is my first year as the Dean of Academics. I was hired in June, but previously I was a teacher here. So I've been here. This is my fourth academic year. Did you know that? Yes, I was a teacher here for about 3 years, right? So I know a little bit about this place, but this year I've learned to know more. I'm learning more and meeting people connected with the school and organizations and groups connected with the school, and networking is a big focus for me. Is getting back out into the community and inviting back people on campus. Southern Prep is going through a time of revitalization, and it's going through a time of transformation and regeneration. So there's a lot of overlap. And so this partnership is really cool. And so I'll kind of share with you how I'm doing that specifically through academics, but also through community partnerships. So a little bit about me is I have my master's in education. I originally thought I was going to go abroad and teach English. I did that a little bit, but I felt called to stay here. And specifically, I felt called to the school for now. And I recently completed my Master of Divinity. So I do view academics holistically, and we do at the school. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of my philosophy of education. So we'll do that. But this is our mission statement. You can find this on the website. So Southern Preparatory Academy is dedicated to developing young men and women of character, faith, and leadership through academic excellence, structure, and a whole person approach. That's key. Whole person approach. We equip students to lead with confidence, integrity, and purpose. Purpose, that's key too. Whether they pursue higher education, military service, or professional careers. So we have different pathways that we allow students to kind of dive into and look into. This is my, and I don't share this often. This is kind of a personal philosophy of education that when I am looking at curriculum and when I'm looking at, and I made this before this, so I didn't just make it Aggie because I'm talking to an ag group. This was back in June that I've really kind of formulated this. So this is my personal philosophy of education. The only other group I've really told this to is my faculty at the beginning of the year. So I call it the 3 C's, really the 4 C's. So education, the goal is transformation for me. It's inward transformation, but also outward transformation. I'll talk about that in a second. So, but it's all rooted in conviction. Without the roots, really nothing else really matters. There's no passion behind it. There's no willpower. There's no motivation behind it. And there's no purpose behind it. So we start with conviction. All right, that's faith. That's your values. That's your purpose. And from that, Craft and connection. So craft, think of those hard skills that we're teaching students, whether it's outside in ag, whether it's inside in science, chemistry class or history class, whatever the craft is, whatever with the military service, higher education, or straight into a trade or vocational route, we want to teach and craft the students' craft. We want them to hone it. We want them to be able to learn their talents that I believe that God has given everyone. And so part of my purpose here is to help students unfold their creativity, their talent, but it all goes back to their purpose. Okay, the purpose fuels their craft, but it also fuels their connection. Okay, so we have empathy, compassion, love, networking, community outreach, community service. If you just focus on the craft and you definitely are not focusing on connection or doing it in a wrong way, you get outrageous examples that we've seen in history. You can have really smart people doing really evil things, and their craft, they've honed it in a really evil way. I want to avoid that as all possible, but do the opposite. Kind of what we're doing here, regenerative agriculture. How can we go to the opposite way and steward the things that we've been blessed with, steward the things and relationships and our roles and responsibilities, our campus, whatever it is, our spheres of influence. How are we stewarding that for a higher purpose and doing it so in love, compassion, generosity, and empathy? So I view all of this rooted in conviction will ultimately lead to transformation. And like I said, there's inward transformation, there's outward transformation. Okay. And what we're trying to do here is plant the seeds, but we believe the seeds have already been in there from birth. As humans, we're very unique in nature. We're metacognitive. We're relational. We can learn languages across cultures. We have different cultures. We're a community. And so just based on, and I would call that being created in the image of God, we have these seeds that are already planted within us, but how can we cultivate that into inward transformation, but outward? So when they graduate, whatever sphere of influence they go into, they're affecting it positively, not negatively, but positively, and being agents of change and transformation and revitalization. It doesn't matter if it's just their family, their career, whatever role and responsibility that they've been blessed with and given. We want them to be transformers. And we are the ones that will cultivate that. So for me, this is the fruit. So inward and outward transformation is the fruit, but this is the detail of the fruit. So at Southern Prep, when I view a graduate, I want them to have all of these things present and honed, or at least experienced. So self-aware, I want them to be self-aware. I want them to be self-disciplined. I want them to be globally aware. This is a complex global society that we're living in. So yes, let's start with the local community, but how does that relate to the broader picture too? I want them to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, those higher order thinking skills. And like I said in the mission statement, whatever their work of life is, whatever the direction is, we want them to be prepared. Whether if it's a trade as soon as they graduate, or if it's higher education or enlistment, whatever it is, we want them to be prepared. And all of this leads to that. And it all comes to, again, transformative. So a rigorous, holistic, transformative prep experiences. That's my goal here. And holistic is the key word. All right. So how do we cultivate that? The cultivation. So we have the seeds in each student, but how are we cultivating it? How are we watering those seeds? For me, that's holistic formation through academics. That's my role. That's my job. And specifically, it's through this. So at our school, we are a STEAM school from here forward. Science, technology, engineering, arts, agriculture. Agriculture is a big part of our future direction in our current state. And Ryan is doing a great job, and I'm probably going to stick around and view out there too this afternoon. So he's doing a great job, and we're excited about what this ag program can really benefit students with. Additive manufacturing, aviation, mathematics. So we're leaning into the 21st century. But part of that is regenerative agriculture. That seems to be a way forward, a positive way forward. So it's not ignoring the past, but it's taking the good things from the past and the good things that are current and together moving forward. So STEAM is our academic lens. Again, we have these academic pathways. So general studies, think of these kind of like diploma tracks. So we have general studies, that's more of a trade route. They can have classes focused that. We actually have 2 welding students this year who go down the road to Edward Bell Career Tech Center, and they are doing welding. We partnership with Ryan, we want to expand that, industrial arts, okay? Including agriculture, college preparatory, of course, and honors. I'm really excited about our honors. We'll have an honors academy coming up. And, you know, again, all of this without that conviction, without that purpose, really, it's like something that sprouts up. You know, Jesus, he did a lot of parables related to agriculture. And I think there was a purpose for that, because agriculture teaches us about patience. It teaches us about growth. It teaches about transformation. And so I don't think it was by accident that he used a lot of agriculture in his parables and teachings. And without the strong root, without that depth of soil, things sprout up and go away and fall away. So we want good soil, deep soil for deep, deep roots of purpose and faith and that influences their craft. All right. And again, one of those concentrations will become agriculture. One of these areas of concentration will become agriculture. Think of these areas of concentration as like a focus that they can concentrate on, almost like a major or minor as they go through our courses. We want this to be a true prep experience, but a holistic prep experience. Okay, that's rooted in faith, that's rooted in conviction and purpose. Okay, we have a lot of acres out here. And so one of our goals here is to make this just as much of a classroom as Tallapoosa Hall classrooms. What Ryan's doing in the greenhouse and the farm plots around it, that's exactly the direction that we want to go. Bees, all of it. So these are just the early seeds of this program. The early seeds. And these are some of our international students. We have a diverse population that's just going to grow more and more in the future as well. And that leads into some of our extracurricular enrichment. So how do we use this campus? How do we become good stewards? Like I said, how are we stewarding our sphere of influences? How do we become good stewards of our campus, of our people, of our resources? And some of that is using our campus to its full ability. And we're kind of exploring that. JRTC just got the Gold Star of Distinction recently. Yes. They've been doing a great job. We're actually going to host Raider team competitions here next weekend. They've been doing a great job of getting our Ranger course up to date and ready for those competitions. So on our campus, they can have rigorous training. Mountain biking is something that I personally love and that we're starting this year. How can we create trails on our campus for mountain biking? Great trails. We have awesome, elevation that you can work with, and really probably can get up to 15, maybe even more miles of hiking trail, mountain biking trail, the single track trail running. And this is some of our current students that are able to now even check out bicycles to use in the afternoons on the weekend. So how do we revitalize? How do we move forward? How do we transform the sphere of influence that we've been given? It all goes back to it's rooted in conviction. What is our conviction? What is our purpose? So holistic formation. That was a lot of academic stuff, maybe some fun stuff, but how are we forming them holistically? And this is just a list of some of the rhythms that we've started this year. Weekly chapels, again, conviction. All right, reflection days, trait of the month, that character formation. So remember the 3 C's. We had, I'll go back really quickly. Rooted in conviction. We're honing their crafts, helping them through their intellectual journey of discovering their craft and their creativity, their talent, rooted in their purpose. But there has to be a positive connection to the community, to each other, to build positive relationships. So it's character formation too. So we have a trait of the month every month. This month it's courage. It's been responsibility. It's been integrity. These are some of these values and traits that we hold to high esteem. Again, I said we want them to be globally aware. If we have a region of the year, this year our region of the year is East Asia. I'm sure there's a lot of agricultural things, positive and negative, that's happening in East Asia. I actually visited China a long time ago now, about 10 years ago. And it was interesting to view some of the industries there, and again, some of the positives and negatives. But we need to be aware of that because we want students to be positive agents of change and transformation in a complex, globalized society. So we need to be aware of that, those real world problems. Community service, how are they serving others? We're going to start an ethics seminar next year. All right, you're honing your craft, but how do you apply it ethically in the world or even just in your family, your business, whatever role and responsibility you've been given and gifted, how are you stewarding that? And then we're in the early stages of developing a male and female mentorship program. Okay, so all of this is aligned with our holistic formation. And I would say one of the greatest intellectual journeys that anyone, adults, students, can go on is their journey of faith and discovery and discovering their purpose. That's one of the greatest intellectual journeys. And once our students begin to realize that, those roots are going to go deep, and that tree of transformation is going to bloom. And that the fruit that I keep looking for, it will be visible. Inward transformation and outward transformation. And for me, this is the fruit of that. When they graduate, we want them to be self-aware, self-disciplined, globally aware, problem solvers, critical thinkers, and prepared for whatever life throws at them, whatever they want to go after. And all of that is rooted in conviction. At least that's my philosophy. So thank you. That's all I had today, just really quick to share. But I love the connections that we're making in the community. We've invited pastors here, groups like this. This is part of it. That goes back to connection. So thank you for coming, and thank you, Ryan, for inviting me too.
So what does that look like right now? Agriculture wise, we are getting the greenhouse up and going. Right now we're currently building the soil. We've got some infrastructure issues to deal with as far as electrical for the temperature. You know, it's getting warm out there and it's dry. It's even warmer and drier in the greenhouse without electricity and water, but something we're working on. But we are constantly building the soil on the inside right now with some cover crops. And on the outside, we had some students. We had our last flex day of the season, and we had agriculture club out there, and we made leaps and bounds. We've got several rows set up and planted. We've got tomatoes, bell peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, and squash, and they will be going into the dining hall for summer camps, and hopefully into late July, early August, be and they're ready to welcome some students with some fresh vegetables. So really excited about that. We had some plans to do a little more work over the weekend, but plans got thwarted. We had an injury at one of our practices, and my garden crew was kind of taken out of capacity for the evening. So 330 acres is a lot. There's so much potential here, and the students, when you start asking them about the potential and the ideas they have, like the things they come up with is just astounding. And to be able to partner with them and to be able to be beside them. I have one that wants to be a Navy SEAL, that loves agriculture, that is just fascinated by every time we go out, he has a million questions. And to see him to get his hands in the dirt and see the beginning and the finished product. But at first he wasn't really excited about it, but when he started to see like the transformation of the spot, and when we put some sweat into it, and then what it looked like, he started asking questions, and he started asking questions about, the whole property, and just to hear the ideas that he has. And he's a freshman. So, it's just, I'm excited to even think about what it's going to be like in 4 years when he gets ready to graduate. And then when he comes back, and is able to partake and give in the future, that's going to be exciting. So thank you, Dean Thompson. I think it's pretty clear why he came and why he is where he is right now. God has brought key people to this place for such a time as this, and I appreciate everybody in the room today and everybody online, and thank you for. Yeah.
Part that is connecting to other opportunities. Thinking of in that whole system. So it's not just a specialty addition, but it's opening up multiple specialties.
Yeah, so he's asking how adding the agriculture piece to the academics is really adding so much more. It's very multifaceted. We got into culinary, and it's really, there's a community at our fingertips that is we have a lot of people that have a global influence that live right here in the area. One, in fact, Miss Debbie, that came and did our culinary, her and her husband, like they've made waves in China in the mission field, and she's in here teaching our students how to cook and about nutrition, and it's just been mind blowing. And our flex days have been to see what the interest is from the students and then build around that. And just that whole concept of like, let's not just offer them something, let's kind of just see what they want and what they're interested in and then build off of that. And it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, and Robert, you asked a deep question. So let me, really, here's what we're doing. We are restoring the legacy of Dr. Lyman. And what him and his wife Mary were driven, their conviction to come from New York City in the Northeast, because they were influenced by Booker T. Washington to come to this patch of earth to provide education to disadvantaged.
The president said it's such a deep question, but he can
That's what
hone it down into finishing the legacy of Dr. Lyman Ward and his wife coming here from New York City, having a vision and for the community in agriculture. Yes, sir.
I know you're mad. Hard and you got baseball field, playing field,
Haven't thought that far about it. We heard there was a possibility of possibly a turf farm.
Blake and making, I think it's Blake. And making county use spot.
Oh, down off Beck's turf. Yep.
New place. And voting.
So let me, I'm always ready to partner with the appropriate entity in order to improve our facilities. So to get our athletic fields to where they are now, last year I partnered with True Green. And True Green took our ball fields from what I would say in disrepair, just over one growing season, that I was able to get it to the point where I can kind of maintain it now. And so, but my expertise only has limitation. And so we did overseed it with rod in preparation for the soccer season. But I'm already starting to see the broadleaf.
We're talking about the possibilities of NutriPlant, our athletic facilities, and what partnerships would look like moving forward. And return on investment on certain things like that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ray.
I think you spoke with it.
Thank you. And I apologize. I hope I feel like but when I come into the room and I get that's a deep one. I want to take advantage of this opportunity to share where we are, what is guiding us. This is not about surviving today. This is about growing the future. And we're coming out of very tumultuous recent past, where my humble opinion, and this is only my opinion, but I am in a position of authority to speak this, is that the school had lost its way. And here's the two truths that everybody needs to understand when they think about this school and how the school may fit into a larger solution set. The first one is that I'm a nonprofit. I am legally bound to be a nonprofit. What does that mean? That means that I serve the public. There's nobody here that is here to get rich. I am not trying to create profits that then make me wealthy. And then the other one is I'm a school. Those are the two constraints that I must work in. I am legally bound by those two things. And that should drive every decision I make. Every decision I make going forward, I have to ask those two questions. Does this support the nonprofit? Does this make me a better school? When I have those two things clearly in mind, then the decisions I have to make, although they can be hard, making the decision. Make sense?
Gonna make a little transition here, and I'll get Buck to introduce our guest directly. Yeah, let me show you a video, and let me just tee this up a little bit. So this is a featuring the NutriPlant 643, but don't necessarily focus on just that product. Listen to this entire story because it is a great segue of everything we've talked about in this next piece that they're going to dive deep into it. But this is a great video. We tried to show this before. I think it didn't work. So bear with me to make sure this all works great. Let's see.
I would say that sustainable and organic farming are definitely the hardest form of agriculture. We consider the farm a living organism, so everything we do on the farm matters. Our goal is to grow healthy, nutrient-rich plants and to give back to the land by feeding it what it needs. Amway's farming practices incorporate a farming system where we don't use pesticides or herbicides or any synthetic chemicals on the farm. But there's quite a bit more to it. You know, it's really the farm as a whole. We're constantly trying to improve our soil and our soil health and put nutrients back into the soil. Some of our ingredients originate from plants, and each plant has different needs. So depending on what the plant needs determines where we grow it. We have farms in Brazil, El Pedical, Mexico, and also 2 different farms in Washington State. We also work with partner farms that share our sustainable philosophy, and this is through our NutriServe program. All of these farms are placed in these different locations because they have different topography, different climate, and allow us to grow the best plants for our products. Over the last few years, we've intentionally increased our regenerative agricultural practices. We're constantly trying to improve our soil health. In order to do this, it's more than just farming organically. It's making sure you're improving it year after year. We track every step of the process. Everything we do on the farm is traceable, from planting all the way through harvesting and eventually sending the plant off for final processing. I think for me, farming really allows me to work with the plants in harmony with nature. I think by incorporating regenerative farming, we are starting to think differently. We want to show that what we end with is more than what we started with. We're creating a sustainable future for the next generation.
Got it. All right. So Pam and Dorsey Deaton, I'm Buck Moore. I met Pam and Dorsey 36 years ago, and they've been working with me with Network 21 and Amway since then as my mentors. And what they're seeing us do with the agricultural side, that's pulled in some of the Nutrilite products, especially the NutriPlant 643. They've gotten very active with helping us out. So I wanted to share some of the history that they've seen, and even before that as well, and sort of pieces they see that sort of connect all these things as well. So if you will, please welcome Pam and Dorsey Deaton. Fun. She's worried. I've got the camera here for the Zoom crowd.
My PhD is in history, and I taught history at Emory and Georgia State for 30 years plus. And Pam is afraid I'm going to start with Adam and Eve like I do in most of my stories. But actually, I'm going to go back a century. That's all. 100 years ago, there was no real concern about food additives because people were eating, natural fruits and vegetables right out of wholesome soils. And it has changed since then. And one of the big changes is the work of Nutrilite. And the story behind Nutrilite is a fascinating story. A Swedish nobleman fell in love with a circus girl, left his riches and family and met Sweden and traveled with a circus, settled in Sebring, Florida, and they raised a boy. He was a brilliant young man, but then the first World War post-Depression, he spent his last sum of money, bought him a suit of clothes and a ticket to New York. He walked into the offices of Colgate-Palmolive Pete with a piece of paper and one word written on it, gave it to the CEO's secretary and said, "I'll wait to speak." And she says, "He's busy. He will not talk to anybody right now." And in 5 minutes, the man came running out and said, "I need to talk to you." What was on that piece of paper? One word: China. China was just opening up to American businesses. They'd been closed, etc. So he says, I'm going to be your first representative in China. He said, well, we hadn't thought about it, but sounds good. Let's do it. So this young man, Carl Rinborg, goes to China, and he discovers that many of the other foreigners there, especially during time when they couldn't get the foods they wanted because of a little rebellion, all the foreigners were getting sick and dying, but he was growing stuff on his own garden and experimenting with all sorts of soils. And he thought he was onto something. So when he came home to the United States, he settled in California, got a small piece of land and started working with soils. He had a good friend named George Merck. George says, I'm going to develop a way to cure people. And Carl Rinborg says, well, I'm going to develop a way to keep them from getting sick. And so he, for 20 years, labored on his own little farm, experimenting with the most nutritious soils and the most nutritious plants and finding out what could provide the best nutrition. And by 1945, he had come up with what we would know as a multiple vitamin mineral compound, the first on the American market. It beat one a day by 10 years. But it was not cheap, but the people who took it had energy, health, nutrition, stamina, and wanted more and more and more. And by the end of the decade, they needed to find a way to market it. They brought in a professor and a professional salesman and developed a way of networking. Well, that soon flourished, but within 10 years, they'd outgrown their networking, and two of the men started another business. And the other business, 10 years later, went back and bought Nutrilite. And from that, they've spread Nutrilite around the world. Nutrilite is the world's oldest and largest vitamin company, going back to 1934 when it was organized. Last year, they did $5.5 billion in sales. How does that compare with Pfizer? Pfizer doesn't do it, but about 900 million. So you can see it is a huge profitable thing. And it's all based on the idea of total organic farming. And the degrees to which they go, they've never used a chemical of any kind on their fields. They've started out in Hemet, California, there in a very, very fertile position, and grew until they outgrew that. But they developed such things as using Egyptian earthworms, because the Egyptian earthworms went down and up, and they didn't migrate. To keep wind from blowing other people's herbs onto their property, or herbicides or pesticides, they give them with their natural products that they had developed. And when they focus first on alfalfa, watercress, and parsley, alfalfa, because of its root structure that gains so much minerals from the soil, watercress and parsley for air and water sources of vitamins and nutrients. And when they harvested the alfalfa, they harvested it at 6 a.m. before the heat of the day. And they only took the top new growth where the most nutrition was. They took the rest of the plant and composted it into the soil. That's the kind of degree to which they went. And as a result, they grew and grew and grew because people were taking their one-a-day product, which was actually 3 tablets with 22 vitamins and minerals. And it became the number one, and still is the number one selling multiple vitamin mineral. The biggest, Nutrilite is the world's largest maker of vitamins, but they don't sell the most. Who sells the most is the generic brands that are synthetic. And they're sold, the reason that it's sold is because they put different names on it and sell it through Walmart and CVS and Walgreens and under different names. But does your body absorb this? Does it have the bioavailability? No. That's why you want something that's totally organic, your body recognizes and uses. So Nutrilite is something that merged with Amway bought them in 1972 and is the biggest single part of Amway. Amway itself just provided the distribution, et cetera. Pam and I were introduced to it in 1972. We've been on Nutrilite vitamins since our 30s. And now we're in our 80s and living a very active life, I might point out. And it's all because of the whole point you're trying to make here. Soil obviously has been deteriorating over the years, and it's been complicated by chemicals and things like that. Nutrilite continues to lead the way in organic chemicals. They even do such things as the Trout Lake Farms in Washington State. They have falcons. What are falcons good for? They keep birds from flying across your field and dumping on it. Because when you're concentrating stuff, it can't have even bird dung on it. So, and for pest control, ladybugs eat aphids. French lace bugs eat other things. So all natural, completely natural, and every piece of soil has got a number, and every root that's goes in there is tracked. So complete traceability all the way back from the soil to the thing. And now, after all these years, they've never had one single plant recalled. Pam and I have visited their farms in various places around the world. Rather impressed. They showed you carrying a bucket of little green things. Those are acerola cherries. What's an acerola cherry? Well, it's really a berry, incredibly high potency, 30 times the potency of an orange. And yet, that potency is greatest when it's still green before it turns red. So we harvest it when they're green. And we process it at 250 degrees nitrogen, below zero, so that they keep the fruit and the freshness until they get to the processing. So we are the only company in the world, first and only company in the world, to have our own USDA certified organic farms and produce all our stuff on those farms. So you're getting fully nutritional stuff. Well, the spillover was people said, well, hey, can we benefit from your savvy about farm products? So our first venture into agricultural products was a thing called all-purpose spray adjuvant. Now, spray adjuvant is just a wetting agent. But it's a powerful wetting agent because a farmer can walk out into his field, which has dry pan, in which case water will sit there. You can wade into a pool in the middle of the field, and up to your waist, take 1 cup of our spray adjuvant, pour it in the water, and by the next morning, there's no water there. It's all gone into the ground because it's an incredible wetting agent. So we were selling APSA 80 to farmers all across America, with that being in the Midwest for corn, for crop dusters in Mississippi, because it keeps the nozzles clean on the plains and on the feeders, et cetera. So for a variety of reasons, APSA 80 was the first and very successful agricultural product. But then they went to the liquid feeder, which is the NutriPlant 643. And so the success of that is something that's spilled over to here. And that's why the same emphasis on organic purity, effectiveness applies here. So we brought some samples. I got a catalog or two here, but we brought some samples of some of the Amway products, or actually they're Nutrilite products. But we have everything from the one-a-days to products for your energy, products for, well, 2 big things right now is gut health and immunity. And we've got, revolutionary products there. So we brought some things for you to share. We'll put them out and you can have them. My wife wants to say a few words. Yeah, I didn't start with anything.
Well, I just want to say I'm so excited to be here. Buck knows that I am just thrilled with what you're doing with agri-harvest or agricultural regeneration, the system. And Dr. Thompson, I really appreciated what all you had to say. We're disciples, so to speak, of John Maxwell, who is very much into transformation, not just learning. So learning in a way that will change you. I do have to say that I'm not a farmer, but I am a faith partner. And I'd like to just give my identity. It's not a mission statement, but it will kind of let you know where I'm coming from. I believe that I was created by God with a brain that could partner with him to make a masterpiece of my life. And what I had to learn is how to use the brain. So all that to say that I'm going to be 85 in June, blessed with incredible health. But it did not come by sitting on a sofa eating a bag of potato chips and praying for health. So it is so important to partner with God so that He can give you what He wants you to have. And I really feel like the nutrition that we have with Nutrilite is such a parallel to what y'all are talking about. So what I am kind of imploring you to do is to care as much about your own bodies as you do about the soil. Because I will dare to say that at almost 85, I think I am every bit as healthy as your soil. Okay. So the only thing I just want to share is the things that I have taken for 50 years. And of course, it has changed as things are discovered. It's interesting that when a new nutrient is discovered, it's already in our product because of the phytoceuticals and because we just take the natural, and everything that we take and make into our vitamins is already, if you're understanding, the nutrients that may have not have been discovered yet are already there. So let me just give you a little example of what I take. We brought some samples, and our protein shakes are incredible. They're delicious. We brought a few for you to try. We have energy drinks. And I know if y'all are healthy, you shudder at the word energy drink. But our energy drinks have no sugar. Now, Red Bull has 27 grams of sugar. That's about 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now, our energy comes from vitamin B. That's where healthy energy comes from. And so our energy drinks have 4,900% your need for vitamin B. And they have adaptogenic herbs and all sorts of wonderful things. We have some new ones. Did we bring the new ones? Okay, that have just come out. And what is it they have, Dorsey, that the others, they have an additional. Well, so we brought some of those, but let me just tell you what I take. So, of course, I drink the energy drinks. I take the Double X, which is the foundational vitamin that covers everything that you should start with, and it's vitamins and minerals. I take Advanced Omega for the brain. Now, at my age, my favorite products are brain and energy products. So Advanced Omega, and then Memory Builder also. And I do have a customer who honestly cannot be without the Memory Builder. And she's 85, and she says that if she hasn't had it for a week, she notices the difference. So that's interesting. Yeah. Oh, no, my oldest customer is 95, and she was telling me yesterday she thinks she's been taking our products for 20 years. I didn't realize it was that long. But anyway, CoQ10, your body stops making it once you turn 40. So I would suggest it's for the heart, it's for the brain, basically for the heart. Then Energy Focus is just one of my favorite things. It's made with rhodiola, and honestly, we can tell a difference in 30 minutes. We take it 30 minutes before we go to the gym, and by the time we get to the gym, we're energized. Now, I have forgotten to take it, and I'll be at the gym and I'll be going 11, 12, 13. And then I'll realize, oh my gosh, I didn't take my rhodiola, my Energy Focus. It's mental energy and physical, a mental focus and physical energy. So it's really even good for kids taking exams. Magnesium is a relatively new product that we have come up with, and I see that you also we're using it. I'm using the magnesium. This is my brain over here, so we're a wonderful team. I have all the emotion, he has all the facts. And so the memory builder, let me just say, one of our nutrients in the memory builder is cystanche. You can look it up. It's incredibly rare. It comes from Asia, and we use it for our memory builder. Now, so we have several of the products here, but what I really, there is just such a parallel between what you do for the soil and what we hope you will do for your own bodies. And I have been using then, I've been doing the NutriPlant plant 643 on my pansies. So I'm sure that that seems a little bit too minor a thing for you, but I have to tell you, I have 2 containers outside my kitchen door, and on one container, I use the NutriPlant, on the other container, untreated. Watered both of them regularly. You will not believe the difference. And then outside my bedroom door, I have 2 containers, again, of pansies, one that was treated and one that was untreated. And it's amazing. And I would absolutely love to show you my pictures, so we can do that afterwards. What's that? Oh, yes, we've done the mixture. So I'm just really excited. I love this place. I love the spiritual dimension. I love it even more today after being here. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to have a president who cares enough to come. Thank you. So
2 quotes that I forgot to make. You're not what you eat. You're what your food eats. Does this statement from Robert Schuller? Any fool can count the seeds of an apple. But only God can count the apples of the seed.
So it's great to be part of you. We hope to come back.
And then, can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
So you talked about all these are the things in the take. So,
That's just partial.
yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we're up against with the food movement, food is nutrition, you're changing people's habits, cooking habits, buying habits, work habits, all of that. So this isn't just my words are wrong. And your regimen, what you're taking over time, hasn't replaced and changed the way that you do eat. Do I have to drink coffee anymore? I mean,
Don't make me give up my coffee.
a lot of things. Just your thinking your life to be better.
Oh, right.
It's going to affect other things too. You mentioned.
Well, we have mentioned what? Yes. And not sitting on the sofa eating potato chips.
They're not necessarily proposing that you change your activity and your habits. It's here, take this thing.
Or a shot.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's years. 7 years. That's 7 seasons of.
Well, they also say 21 days to change a habit. So we have a wellness health point program for weight loss, but it's also for wellness. And we are very much into community. So it's incredible. We have a wellness community that meets on Tuesday nights, and we just get fed incredible on Zoom. And we just get incredible information every single Tuesday. There's more information. our nutritionist comes up with it. I don't know how much time she has to spend in research to do it, but she comes up with that. We have many community walk and talks. So our Health Point program that helps people lose weight. We do have someone who's lost 200 pounds. And after that, she got lymphoma, and the doctor, and then she made her way through it. But her doctor said, if you had not lost the weight, this would have killed you. So anyway, so we have our Health Point program is movement. 10,000 steps a day is what we really hope for. And snacking, you should be snacking 5 times a day at least. Our program says every hour and a half. What? Snacking, yeah, not on potato chips, on protein. It's definitely has to be protein.
One, they carbohydrates and one stores fat, and fat stores fat. So by snacking on protein, you never get hungry. So we take a protein-rich diet with low simple carbs and simple and obviously more complex carbs since your body has.
Another sidebar is that when people try to lose weight, they think they should stop eating. Just kind of, that's what they think. The metabolism says, oh my gosh, I'm being starved. So the metabolism shuts down, and it's your metabolism that is your fuel source. It's kind of like the Health Point program really tries to ignite your metabolism, and snacking 5 times a day keeps that metabolism going so that it burns fat and gives you energy. So it's movement, snacking, supplements, and thinking. So you're thinking, even to be healthy, our thinking has to change. Our self-talk has to change, because you're talking to yourselves right now while I'm talking, probably faster than I'm talking. But, if you pay attention to what you say to yourself, if you said to your friends what you say to yourself, you probably wouldn't have any friends. So we're into that too. So this whole thinking thing is a very important. I digress, though. I could talk about that forever. So any other questions?
You mentioned you use the magnesium hydroxide. Is that with the nanoplatelets?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And I will be glad to show you my pictures.
The big emphasis lately has been the importance of gut. And your bacteria in your gut, you have more cells in your intestines than you have in your whole body. And so the bad ones proliferate if you use readers or your gum box, things that get into you. So you want to replace them with good bacteria to process your food to avoid things that we so big emphasis years is to supplement the good bacteria with the full.
So we do have our community that meets on Tuesday nights for just incredible information, but we also have a walk and talk community that you can link into a Zoom address wherever you are. We are in Stone Mountain at 7:00 on Monday morning. I was walking with my phone with people from Canada, India, Sweden. That's amazing. And community, I think the Surgeon General has said that one of our biggest problems, health problems in our country today, is not just obesity and smoking, it's isolation. And that's why there's so many depressed people. We need community. You've got it here, and I want to be part of it.
lunch. We go down to the have lunch and sit. Networks.
Go eat lunch now at the dining hall, and then those who want to stay can take a quick tour of the greenhouse and the new gardens area. This will officially end our gathering this morning. Robert and Barry, thank you for joining us.